let's start the drill discussion. The first topic is Election Commission of India and its function, independence, appointment procedure. A bill outlining the process for selection of the Election Commission and the Chief Election Commissioner was recently approved by the Rajya Sabha. The title Chief Election Commission and Other Election Commissions Appointment, Conditions of Service and Terms of Office Bill 2023. The goal of the Act is to increase appointment processes, transparency in response to Supreme Court of India direction. Recently, the Supreme Court of India has given a direction, expresses dissatisfaction over the appointment process and removal process of the Election Commission and the Chief Election Commission. So, taking that into consideration, the goal of this act is to increase appointment process, transparency in response to Supreme Court of India's direction. Which are the bill's principal provisions? The Election Commission Condition of Service of Election Commissioners and Transition of Business Act of 1991 is being replaced by this bill. It deals with the Chief Election Commission and EC appointment, compensation and removal. Procedure for appointment: the President shall appoint the CEC or Chief Election Commission and the election commissions based on the selection committee's proposal. The Prime Minister, a Union Cabinet Minister and the Leader of Opposition and the head of the biggest opposition party in the Lok Sabha shall make up the selection committee. So this is very important. As per the new provisions of the new bill, so there will be a committee headed by the Prime Minister, the Union Cabinet Minister and Leader of Opposition or the head of the biggest opposition party in the Lok Sabha shall make up the selection committee. Even in the event of that this committee has a vacancy, the recommendation made by the selection committee will remain in effect. A list of names will be recommended to the selection committee by the search committee, which is headed by the cabinet secretary. Possessing or having held a position compared to that of the secretary to the central government makes one eligible for the position to be appointed as the Election Commission of India. Modification of the salary and terms: the Chief Election Commission and the Election Commission will have the same pay and working condition as the cabinet secretary. It was the same as Supreme Court judge remuneration under Article 191 under the 1991 Act of the Election Commission. Method removal: Article 324(5) of the Constitution, which permits the removal of the Chief Election Commission on the same ground as Supreme Court judge, but restrict the removal of the EC to the CEC's recommendation, is preserved in the bill. Safety of the EC and the CEC: the bill shields the Chief Election Commission and the EC from lawsuits pertaining to action they took while serving, as long as those actions were performed in the course of performing their official duties. The purpose of the amendment was to protect these officials from lawsuits or other legal action pertaining to their official duties. Currently, how are the EC and the CEC appointed? Constitutional provision: Part 15th of the Constitution, which deals with the election, consists of just 5 articles, 324 to 329, regarding the Election Commission. So only 5 articles from 24 to 324 to 329 deals with the Okay, so constitution at only five articles about that. The constitution does not specify legislative procedure for CEC and EC's appointment. According to Article 324 of the Constitution, an election commission made up of the chief election commissioner and such number of other election commissioners, if any, as the president may from time to time fix, is given superintendence, direction, and control of elections. On the recommendations of the Prime Minister-led Union Council of Ministers, the president appoints the new member. The Prime Minister is presented with a list of qualified applicants to choose from by the law ministers. The President makes the appointment on the advice of the Prime Minister. So the Prime Minister advice and the President make the appointment. That elimination, they are free to leave at any moment or they can be fired before their term is up. Only Parliament can remove the Chief Election Commission from office through a procedure akin to that of the Chief Justice of Supreme Court, said the Justice of the Supreme Court judge, known as the impeachment. The removal of any other EC requires the CEC's recommendation. Government can remove just by the recommendation of the Chief Election Commission. The other election commissioners can be removed from office. Okay. What are the concerns regarding the bill? Transparency and independence, diversity and independence of the selection committee may be compromised if its recommendations were to remain in effect even in the event of a vacancy. This could lead to a monopoly of the ruling party members in specific situations. And the transaction from judicial model to executive authority, comparing to pay of the cabinet secretary whose compensation is set by the executive branch to that of the chief election commissioner and the EC, raises questions about possible government influence. In contrast to the remunerations of a Supreme Court judge, which is determined by an act of parliament, this change could jeopardize the election commission's financial stability. Restricting qualification to civil servants, limiting eligibility to those who have held a government position equivalent to that of the secretary, may disqualify otherwise eligible applicants, thereby reducing the variety of experiences and specialization within the Election Commission of India. Concern regarding the parity deficit, the constitutional clause that permits the CEC to be dismissed similarly to a Supreme Court judge and restrict the removal of the Election Commission to the CEC's recommendation is preserved in the new bill. The unfairness of the removal procedure may be questioned in light of this disparity. Because why? There is a disparity in the removal of the Chief Justice and the removal of the other judges of the or other members of the Election Commission. Why such a disparity in the removal process of the Chief Election Commission and other election commissions? Okay, so the Election Commission of India has supervisory and directing power responsibility for the whole process of election to the legislature of each and every state with India's president and vice president, and it also helps to conduct election to Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Then coming to the next topic, the nature of the future. December 13th, a day later than scheduled, mark the end of the 20th conference of the parties to the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, or UNFCCC, the COP28 held at Dubai. The war against climate change was lost, but the struggle over word and phrase was won. The hazard posed by rising global temperature to life on Earth. According to the most recent assessment reports of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, which were part of the stocktake, the states parties' current nationally determined contribution to the UNFCCC is fully implemented will only reduce global greenhouse gas emission by pitiful 2% by 2030 compared to 2019. Okay, 2019 to 2030. On the other hand, in order to have 50% chance of keeping the increase in global temperature to 1.5 degrees Celsius by 2050, global emissions must peak by 2025, which is just 2 years from now, and then reduce by 43% by 2030 and 60% by 2035. There is a huge disparity, and it could be unrealistic to think that this low goal will be met. The average world temperature has already increased by 1.1 degrees Celsius from the pre-industrial era. The difficulty in realizing the committed NDC, a number of developing countries, NDC cannot be achieved unless they can obtain the necessary funding and technological assistance from affluent nations. Thus far, the record is awful. Developed nations committed to giving developing nations 100 billion annually to help them take climate action in 2029. So that is called the Green Climate Fund. $100 billion is to be given. The developed country will give it, and the developing country will use this money for environmentally sustainable projects. Okay. This number has never been before been reached. Even the tiny amount stated include dubious funding sources, such private capital flow, charity transfers, and occasionally even current overseas development assistance, or ODA as it is called. It is appropriate for the Indian Minister of Environment and Climate, Forest and Climate Change to bring up the need for a consensus defining definition of the climate finance during the meeting. Concerns regarding the $89.6 billion that the OECD is claiming for 2021 have been raised. Less than $25 billion come from a more thorough examination of the Oxfam, which is also more in line with the estimates provided by our own finance ministry. Despite this, the $89.6 billion amount is mentioned in the declaration, along with the inspiring claim that there are many meetings of climate funding. It seems unlikely that sufficient funding will be raised. The IPCC report has said, first, it's project that developing nations will require between 5.8 to 5.9 trillion, or about 800 billion annually over the course of the next 7 years in order to implement their NDC between now and 2030. NDC is the National Determined Contribution. NDC stands for the Nationally Determined Contribution. So the two between 2,215 to 385 billion annually would be needed for adoption alone throughout the time. Just 188 million more has been promised to the adoption fund as of yet. So there is a shortfall. Three, there is a loss and damage fund at COP28, which is a big and good step forward. But so far there have been only been commitments of 770 million $0.6 million, but constitute irreversible loss and damage resulting from man-made climate impact is unclear. AJ is the category of developing nations that could stand to gain from such consequences. It is unlikely that India could be in that list. As inflationary pressure and poor growth plague the majority of the industrialized nations, it is need to believe that financial flow will spike in the next years. A few advantages of COP28. First of all, this is the first COP to recognize that we need to address the source of emissions as well as the emissions themselves. The fossil fuel based energy system that drives all economic activity. Secondly, there are more realistic goals like tripling the global installed capacity of renewable energy to 11,000 gigawatt by 2020 and tripling the early rate of energy efficiency advantage from 2% to 4% by 2030. India is the leader in both categories. Three, green and blue hydrogen as well as nuclear energy have been introduced as clean energy sources for the first time. These are the sections on which India is presently concentrating. At recent COP or the COP28, there have been a trend of interested nations coming together to enact policies, pledges, resources, and establish goals for climate action across several industries. Among them is a US-led program to cut methane emission that is approved at the COP26. Now we have a nuclear power group of 28 countries at the COP28 with the goal of tripling nuclear power capacity by 2030 as well as powering past coal alliance. That means to overcome the dependence on coal. India has typically avoided these alliances, opting instead to follow the NMCC agreed target. India is relieved that the declaration merely asks for a phase down of coal power, not a complete phase out. Phase down means reducing the dependence on coal but not completely phase out. We are finally getting close to realizing that the globe is facing a greater ecological crisis than only climate change, and that action taken in one area have repercussions in other areas. Approaching the resolution of such intricately linked problems through a cross-disciplinary and cross-domain perspective is the only viable option. If nothing else, COP28 has given us a direction to go. Then the next topic is the that Naya Sabera program. Under the Naya Sabera scheme, 1,19,223 minority students and candidates have received training. The program was started in 2007 by the Minister of Minority Affairs. Candidates must be members of one of the six minority groups that have been identified: Sikh, Jaina, Muslim, Christian, Buddhist, Parsi. Goal to support candidates and students by providing specialized tutoring for qualifying exams required for admission to technical professional programs and competitive exams needed for hiring into Group A, Group B and Group C services as well as other comparable positions under the central and state government, which includes public sector organizations, bank and the railroads or railway and other. The next is the Indira Gandhi Prize for Peace. The Indira Gandhi Prize for Peace, Disarmament and Development 2023 has been jointly awarded to Daniel Barumi and Ali Abu Awad for Israeli-Palestinian conflict resolution efforts. In 1986, a trust in the former Prime Minister honor established Indira Gandhi Prize for Peace, Disarmament and Development, established in the memory of late Prime Minister Indira Gandhi. Okay, Development. It includes a citation and a financial reward of 25 lakhs rupees. Category 3 category are used to deliver the award. Acknowledges initiative aimed at advancing and preserving world peace and security. Disarmament recognizes efforts to lessen and eventually eradicate weapon of mass destruction. Development honor efforts to advance social and economic development. The New Delhi Declaration. The New Delhi Declaration, which emphasizes the necessity of mitigating dangers emitting from the development and deployment of artificial intelligence system, was unanimously endorsed by the Global Partnership on Artificial Intelligence, an alliance of 28 nations. The statement is strikingly different from the deal struck a month earlier at the United Kingdom, the AI Safety Summit at the Bletchley Park, Buckinghamshire, where nations pledged to address the dangers posed by the AI system first. Achieving a balance between innovation and the risk connected with AI system has been the goal of the New Delhi Declaration. Although it is generally positive about the financial advantages that artificial intelligence can provide, it also raises concern about justice, privacy, and intellectual property rights that will have to be taken into consideration. The announcement of the GPAI New Delhi, according to Global Partnership for Artificial Intelligence, as it is GPAI stands for, according to the declaration, a global framework for the application of AI should be based on democratic value and human rights, protecting people's dignity and well-being, guaranteeing the protection of personal data, preserving applicable intellectual property rights, promoting innovation, encouraging the use of AI in a trustworthy, responsible, sustainable, and human-centered manner. Supporting AI innovation in the agriculture industry as a new thematic goal was also agreed upon in the declaration. The declaration also agreed to support AI innovation in the agriculture sector as a new thematic priority, because AI is the new domain right now. So all are interested that how to develop this AI, but without thinking that what are going to be the negative impact of the AI. So to control this, because AI is going to the next domain, and it will be used in almost all the sectors from defense to agriculture. So it should be regulated, and its regulation by the government needs to be properly chopped out. In the space mission, NASA is preparing for the launch of the Plankton Aerosol Cloud Ocean Ecosystem space mission in early 2024, which will deepen our understanding of Earth's atmosphere. In order to gain a better understanding of how lights, aerosol, and cloud interact with one another and affect air quality and climate, the mission will make use of sophisticated polarimeter. In addition to analyzing aerosol, the PACE mission will investigate ocean color. The ocean color instrument, the main scientific tool for the PACE, measures the color of the ocean in a range of wavelength from ultraviolet to shortwave infrared. It will have two polarimeter, the hyperangular research polarimeter and the spectropolarimeter for planetary exploration. When combined, these two will provide complementing spatial coverage, polarimetric accuracy, and spectral and angular sampling. Beyond what the OCI alone could accomplish, this combination seeks to deliver enhanced atmospheric corrections and a wide spectrum of aerosol and cloud science data. Research on aerosol, cloud, and ocean is about to advance significantly because to the combined effort of the OCI, the SPEXO, and the HARP2. Okay, then the Indian 10 total, the another environment and ecological topic. 436 newborn Indian dead turtles were recently taken from a person who was unlawfully transferring them across states lying by the Directorate of Revenue Intelligence, that zonal unit Lucknow. About the Indian 10 turtle, one species of the turtle in the Geomatidae family is the Indian 10 turtle. It is mostly a herbivorous species and an energetic swimmer. Its habitat includes slow-moving water close to the river bank and a still water pool besides river. Distribution: Bangladesh, Nepal, India are the natural habitat of this species. Status of conservation: Schedule 1 in the Wildlife Protection Act 1972. Status is lost concern, list concern, site second appendix, principal danger. The species illegally marketed in the pet market because of its appealing appearance. So this is used as a pet. So it is rare as a pet in the pet market. Coming to the question, the Indian government that is always evolving. The constitution was designed with a progressive society in mind. Explain, highlighting the growing scope of the right of the life and individual freedom. So the constitution is a living document since it allows for periodic upgrades and amendments in response to changing social circumstances. One prominent example of this is the right of life and personal liberty as stated in Article 21, which continue to expand upon new insight throughout the time. The Indian Constitution dynamism: abolition of privy purse in an effort to promote equality. The 26th Amendment of the Constitution removed the privilege of privy purse in a socially progressive. Privy purse was given to the erstwhile kings by the Britishers, and that was abolished by that, and that continued even after independence, and that was changed, abolished by the 26th Amendment passed by the Parliament. Raising the number of Lok Sabha seats: in order to guarantee adequate representation, the number of seats must rise in proportion to the population. Basic structure theory: the emergence of the basic structure theory following the famous Kasvananda Bharati case demonstrate the dynamic nature of the constitution. Then fresh perspective under Article 21, right to privacy. The Supreme Court ruled in 2017 case of Justice K.S. Puttaswamy versus Union of India that this right is inalienable under Article 21. Right to shelter: in Rajesh Yadav versus State of UP, the court recognized this right and declared that it is the state's responsibility to provide housing for the occupants. Rights of transgender people: reiterated in the 2014 NALSA versus the Union of India decision, it upheld their rights to liberty, dignity and non-discrimination. Right to die with dignity: the Supreme Court ruled in the Common Cause versus Union of India that physician assisted suicide or PAS, as also referred to as the passive euthanasia, is protected by Article 20. That is, right to life does not include right to death. A person has right to life, but the right to life does not include right to death. So through a number of enacted amendments, the constitution has changed throughout the time. The Indian constitution is progressive as evidenced by the expanding scope of the right to life and personal liberty granted by Article 21. So coming to the question, often seen in news, the dump port is located in which of the following region? It is in Oman, Gulf of Oman. Regarding the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, consider the following statement: it is a military alliance established by the Washington Treaty. That's right. Its protection does not extend to member civil wars or internal that coup. Only one is correct, two is incorrect. Then regarding the consumer price index, consider the following statement: the National Statistics Office releases it, NSO releases it. That's right. Then it determines the price of differential between goods and services that Indian consumer purchase for their own use, including food, healthcare, education and gadgets. So both 1 and 2 are right here. In the context of the Indian 10 turtle, consider the following statement: one specific turtle in the Gametid family is the Indian 10 turtle, right? It is a natural habitat consist of mangroves, estuary and the shallow seabed. That's wrong. Then it is listed as endangered species. That is wrong. Only one is correct. So only one. 2 and 3 are incorrect. So recently NASA space mission was in news. It will study which of the following? It will study the ocean ecosystem. Recently the Masoor was in news. It is an extinct marine reptile from late Cretaceous period. Recently, the New Delhi Declaration was in news. It is related to which of the following? It is the artificial intelligence. The New Delhi Declaration is about the artificial intelligence, AI. Recently, the Barracuda was in news. It is Barracuda is a solar electric boat. Barracuda. Consider the following statement about the Indira Gandhi Peace Prize. It is an annual award established by the Indira Gandhi Memorial Trust in India since 1986. Right? This award is given to individual or organization that work towards ensuring international peace and development. Right? It consists of a monetary awards of 25 lakhs rupees along with a citation. All the three are correct. Consider the following statement about the Naya Sabera scheme. It is a program of the Ministry of Skill Development with loan assistance of the World Bank. That is, it aims to improve short-term skill training quality and qualitative through strengthening institutions of marginalized sections of society, especially the minorities. Both 1 and 2 are correct. So keep watching regularly to update yourself.